Hello everyone, thank you for joining me here on this webinar on how to create a referral network that actually generates referrals. I've created a 5-step process that I use to generate more referrals from my network, and I'm excited to share that with you. Really quick, who am I? A little bit about myself. My name is Ian Campbell. I'm the CEO of Mission Suite. Mission Suite is a CRM and sales automation platform. Personally, I've been in marketing and sales for almost 20 years now, and I've spent the last 7 years or so focusing in on how to use technology in selling. I actually built this process out in Mission Suite and using Mission Suite to assist me with my own business development efforts, which is how I was able to stumble upon it and found it beneficial for me and truly believe that it'll be beneficial for you as well. So here's what we're going to cover on the webinar today. So first, I'm going to touch on how most people treat their referral networks. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably going to see some similarities here. Next, we'll touch on how to create a referral network that actually generates referrals that you're hoping that it will. Then we're going to do a deep dive into the referral bench process, and I'll walk you through how I use it to actually develop that network. And then finally, I'll walk through a few key tips on maximizing those referral relationships. But first, I wanted to share the basic premise that this process is built out on. Business is all about relationships. How well you build them determines how well they will build your business. Now, this is a quote from Brad Sugars. He's the founder of Action Coach, which is a global business coaching franchise. It really hits home with me because at the end of the day, especially when it comes to creating a referral network, it's all about relationships. The problem that most people have with that is that the way that they usually, quote, network for referrals is that they start out by going to a ton of networking events, usually with a focus of trying to find new clients and only secondarily looking for referral partners. Right, so they're trying to meet a bunch of people, and they'll meet them. Maybe they'll sit down with them once, maybe twice, just looking to find someone that can randomly become a client or send a referral. Now, the big problem with this, and the reason that it's a losing strategy, is because first of all, there's no way to scale this, and it can't be replicated. Most people that you meet at networking events are not going to meet your client criteria. At some point, besides that, you will run out of networking events, and you will meet everyone that you can meet at these events. Let's face it, we usually see the same cast of characters over and over and over again, and that's great, but at the end of the day, you're going to dry up the people that you're going to be able to meet. So, and now once more is that there's no way to solidify these relationships, because oftentimes the only other time that you're going to see these people is either that first cup of coffee that's never followed up on, or with a drink or a mini plate in your hand at the next networking event. At the end of the day, that's no way to build a relationship. And again, business is all about relationships. Networking is all about relationships. And referrals are only about relationships. And if you build them well, they'll build your business. Now, building relationships comes down to one thing. That thing is investing time. It's only through the time that we invest in the people that we meet that we're ever able to develop the level of know, like, and trust that we need to get to the place where we can refer business to one another. And so it's with that in mind that I built out this process, and I've seen it develop my referral network much more effectively. So with that, without further ado, we'll dive right into the process here. So step one, first things first, you have to know who's most likely to refer you business. So you've got to be able to identify the different positions that are on your personal bench. Now I know that this can be tough to narrow down because it's easy to just say, well, anybody can refer me business. And yeah, that may be true. It's rarely true, but it might be true for you. But if you can't narrow down your level 1, 2, and 3 referral partners, then frankly, you're doing it wrong. And so with this, while we go through this, keep in mind that right now we're just focusing on defining industries or service provider categories. Now, you're not trying to identify the people in those categories yet, just the main industries, if you will. Personally, I like to segment mine into 3 main groupings. So I use home plate, my infield, and my outfield. So I'm a baseball fan, and so I've decided to go this route. So how do I identify my home plate position? So these are the people that are most likely to refer you business, right? So these are the ones that you're just there with, and you're passing business back and forth with. So they're they're that gold standard of partner, and they're talking to the same people that you are, and they're having the same types of conversations that you are. So to be a solid home plate partnership, both of those have to be true, right? So they have to be talking to the same people, and they have to be having the same conversations. So for example, if you're talking to CFOs, they're talking to CFOs. If you're talking to business owners, they're talking to business owners. If you're talking to business owners and they're talking to HR managers, then chances are they're not going to be a solid home plate partner for you. And then on the other hand, you've got the same conversations, right? Again, if you're talking about process, then they're talking about process. If you're talking about revenue, then they're talking about revenue, right? I talk about CRM, which kind of goes both over process, revenue, marketing, sales process, etc. So I'm going to look for people like sales trainers who are talking about process, and they're talking about sales process specifically. I want that in my world, because when when they come across, we don't really have a sales process. We'll build one out in your CRM. What CRM? Use Mission Suite. Fantastic, right? So those are the types of things that we're looking for. Now, your home plate should be a small group and should be very specific, right? So it's the smallest group of people that you're going to find. And I know that it's enticing to build it out bigger, but it really should be the smallest group in your network. Now my infield, right? So now I'm going to identify my infield. Now those infield folks are the people that could definitely be referring me business, but are also going to help me identify other great home plate partners, right? So for example, if I find somebody that seems like they're going to be a good infield, but they're just not referring me business, but they're sending me all sorts of sales trainers. Fantastic, right? I want to make sure that I keep them in that infield and keep them with that level of that kind of high touch level together. So your infield partners, this should be the largest group of positions on your bench, because let's face it, it's a much broader it's a broader group. These are either talking to the same people that you are, or they're having the same conversations that you are. So, for example, if you're talking to sales directors and they're talking to sales directors, fantastic. You're talking about process, but they're talking about recruiting, that's okay. So they're not a home plate partner because they're not talking about the same thing, but they're talking to the right person, so they could introduce you to that right person. Now, there's an exception to this, that there are times when home plate partners, right, those folks that are having the same conversations with the same people, are going to kind of fall off of that bench and fall off of that position. And so maybe, and it could be for a number of different reasons, right? This is it's going to have to be a judgment call on your end. But those kind of former home plate partners, or not quite so good home plate partners, could end up in the infield as well, right? So they're still worth connecting with from time to time, but not as often as your home plate are. And then finally, your outfield. Now, so your outfield partners, these are the people that might refer you business from time to time. It's going to be pretty rare that they do, but you keep them on the bench for a number of reasons, right? First of all, they're well networked. Usually, they're well networked. They're well respected. But really, for you, the reason that you keep them there is because they can help you identify other great home plate partners and other great infield partners. Right? If I'm hanging out with my HR consultant buddy, right, he and I probably aren't going to send business back and forth to one another. But he's out there, so he might be able to introduce me to another sales trainer or to a marketing consultant or something like that, and that's fantastic, right? So that's why you keep those kind of, quote, outfield folks on your bench. This should be pretty small, though, right? So you don't want to have a ton of different positions in that outfield. Again, look at it like a baseball diamond, right? You've got your home plate, which is a pitcher and a catcher. You've got your infield, which is which is 4 people, right? First, second, third, short, and then finally you've got your outfield, which is just 3 people, right? So it's a smaller group of people, certainly than your infield. But so kind of keep that in mind, that it should be a small group of positions on that bench, because again, this has to be building your network, and you have to really focus on the way that you're using your time. So again, as I mentioned, the key to an outfield partner is that they're not talking to the same people, and they're really not having the same conversations with you. But the key here, and I mentioned this before, is that they must be well networked, and they must be actively building out that network. If they're not, then they have little to no chance of actually introducing you to anybody, right? Never introducing you to a client for sure, and most likely never actually introducing you to any sort of home plate or infield partner as well. So make sure that this is your main criteria for that. So step 2, this is where we're going to identify the different people in the positions on that you identified in the first step, right? So you've got your positions laid out. You've got your home plate or sales trainers, marketing consultants, sales coaches. Your infield is commercial insurance, is commercial real estate, so on and so forth. This is where we actually write down the people that you know, right? So you're gonna literally sit down and write out the people that you know, that you like and you trust in each of these positions, right? So if you don't trust them yet, but and you like them, then then they're worth a shot, right? But remember, the ideal here is to make sure that you're building out that know, like, trust relationship, because without that, no referrals are going to be passed in either direction. So you're going to want to limit your the active players on in these positions to about 3 to 5 people, right? Because again, you don't want to be wasting your time. You want to make sure that you're really focusing on the people that are actually producing those referrals. Because if they're not, then at the end of the day, they may be great to hang out with, but don't fool yourself and think that you're doing so for business, right? So you want to keep your standards high here, and again, remember that you have to know and like these people too, because you're going to be spending time with these people regularly, and we'll get to that in the coming steps here. But a part of this, again, as we talked about before, big part of this is investing time, right? If you don't enjoy that time, then it's not going to be successful, because you're going to avoid doing it, what have you. Now, don't be worried if you can't fill out each of these positions, right? This only works if you know where you're starting from. And so be real with yourself, right? Take a good look in the mirror and know where those holes are in your network. Because at the end of the day, that's going to tell you where you're starting from and what holes you need to fill. Obviously, when you start filling those holes, work on filling your home plate first, then fill your infield, then fill your outfield, right? But this is going to tell you a good place to start. Now, finally, working the bench. This is where the work comes in, right? Again, the point of this process is to create strong referral connections, and make those connections with real referral partners. And now the only way that you're going to do that is to invest that time. So reach out to these people, schedule some time with them, send off an email, make a phone call, do whatever you need, Facebook message, Instagram direct message, it doesn't matter. Get in front of these people, right? Because you've got to start somewhere. You got to get to a point where you're sitting down with people again, right? And this is not just a one-time connection. It's a consistent thing. So once you started meeting with those people, excuse me, you're going to want to create a system that regularly gets you together with those people that are in each bench position, right? So the system that you create is going to help you be consistent with those outreach efforts. Consistency is key. It's the only way that it works. So what I like to do, for me personally, my home plate folks, I like to be in front of every 6 weeks. My infield folks, I like to be in front of every 3 months. My outfield folks, I like to be with every 6 months. Again, creating that system is going to help you be consistent with your outreach. And consistency is everything when it comes to this, which leads me to my next point. Automating your process, right? So I can't say this enough. Remembering that this is all about consistency, right? And if you can't automate this in some way, then consistency will be a problem. There's no question about that. You will have an issue with consistency if you can't automate this, because automating it takes it completely out of your hands and gets the emails out when you've decided that they should be sent out, without letting your head trash get in the way, without letting your indecision get in the way, without letting procrastination get in the way. Reminders don't work too well. They're really easily ignored. And eventually you're going to find some sort of an excuse to not send the emails out to those people because, well, I feel like I just got together with them, or I feel like I just saw them, or what have you. Get the process in place, be consistent with it, because eventually it's going to work for you. Automating it keeps it out of your hands. And now this is where you start refining that bench. Right, so you're going to start kind of culling the herd, so to speak. So remember that not everyone on your bench is going to be a successful partner. Refining your bench is where you're going to get to make those decisions on who's going to get to remain as a part of your network. right? It's okay if people aren't successful in this particular relationship. Get rid of them. Find the people that are. Find the people that are connecting with you regularly. Find the people that are are giving you the vibe that yes, I want to do this, and make sure to replace those players that aren't performing with the people that are, or with the people that you think have the potential to. So if they don't show an interest in a reciprocal relationship, get rid of them. Remember, this is your network, and it's supposed to be building your business. So don't let people take a slot up on that bench if they're not worth the space. And that's that process, right? So it's pretty straightforward. It's certainly not rocket science, but if you put in the work, develop the relationships, and build that trust, it's going to start working for you. I can promise you that. And that said, it's definitely not an overnight process. So I thought that I'd share a few ways that you can maximize the impact of those meetings to kick it into a higher gear and hopefully get some results a lot quicker. So first of all, know what you're looking for when you're going to a meeting. Before you show up for the meeting, you should know exactly where the person that you're meeting with falls on your bench. Don't go searching for client referrals, and treating them like a home plate partner if they're an outfielder, right? If they're not someone that works with the same kind of clients that you do or is having the same kind of conversations that you are. You're not going to get them, and they're not going to know what to do for you. Next thing is plan to give before you get. Remember, it's going to take time to get to a point where people feel comfortable offering a referral to you, right? Understand that you're probably going to have to make an introduction or two before you start getting them in return. Next thing, come prepared. Do a little bit of research on LinkedIn or Facebook or what have you. Find a couple people to whom they're connected and that might make good introductions for you, and ask them for them. Not only are you going to have a better chance of actually getting introductions, but it's going to give them a better idea of the referrals that you would like in the future as well. And then finally, I cannot stress this enough, do not keep score. Referral networking is not a zero-sum game. You may end up giving more than you're getting at times, but don't get frustrated. I mean, you may need to reevaluate your relationships, but that's okay too. Just remember that it's not a scoring situation. It's not a one-for-one scenario, right? If you're giving 3 referrals and they're giving you 1, maybe that's okay in that relationship. I don't know. That's something that you're going to have to judge for yourself. But keeping that kind of one-for-one scoring mentality is going to damage that referral network because you're always going to be expecting more than you're probably going to end up getting. So just bear that in mind. All right, so now it's your turn. Now, when you register for this webinar, you got an email with a referral bench worksheet. Or maybe you downloaded it before, what have you, I don't know. But you've at some point along the way, you should have gotten an email with a referral bench worksheet. So if you don't see that email in your inbox, make sure to check your junk or spam folder because sometimes we do end up there. But you're going to need that because you're going to want to print that out, and you're going to want to start out by writing out those positions and those players in that bench, right? So sit down, spend some time with it because if nothing else, it's an incredible exercise to be able to identify where your network stands. Now, once you've done that, just send those people an email, right? Again, you got to start somewhere, but don't make it fancy. Don't go crazy with it. Hey, it's been a while since we've gotten together. What does your calendar look like for coffee? You'd be surprised at how many people are really excited by the fact that you reached out and offered a connection. Now, we've built out a system inside of Mission Suite, right? And because like I said, this is all about automating this process. And this is the only kind of quasi-pitch that I'm going to make here. If you have a platform that you're using already, that's great. Build it out and figure out a way to automate it using the current platform. If you don't have something for you, then I've got a couple options that you can review. So again, Mission Suite is a great option here. We already have the system built out, and it's created inside of every new account with email templates and all, so that we can actually get this set up for you, and all you need to do is start adding those contacts to the system. Now, if you can't use a system like Mission Suite, and I'm sure that there are some salespeople, franchisees, licensees on the webinar here that have to use their own systems, there are ways that you can implement this that use Outlook and Gmail and a tool called Zapier to get the automation and get those things, get those emails sent out. It takes a bit more work to get set up, but it does get the job done. And I've actually created a short DIY training class that will walk you through exactly how to set that up using the tools that you already have. So. All right, beautiful. Now it's time for you to actually go out and set those meetings. If you have any questions, if you'd like to take a look at a demo of Mission Suite, or you'd like to learn more about our DIY training class, just send me an email. That is my email address, and it'll come from me. And of course, you'll be getting an email or two from me as well, so you can always simply respond to that if you prefer. But that's that. So that's going to wrap up this session, and I appreciate you joining me here today. And I hope I've inspired you to get out there and go set up some meetings. All right, here's to you.